8 a.m, Little Years Nursery, York. And not everyone is ready to start the day. But this morning, it's not just the kids being showered with TLC, it's potential staff. A one-off £1,000 tax-free payment to join or rejoin the industry. It's a trial rolled out in 20 local authorities. A recruitment drive the industry says is desperately needed.
How tough is it to get staff at the moment?
It can be really difficult. There is a national recruitment shortage, especially for already qualified level 3 staff. They do an absolutely wonderful job as early years teachers and they feel undervalued. The thing is that they can go down the road to Aldi and be paid more than they can in a nursery, even though it's the job that they wanted to do, they've trained to do, they've loved to do. It's very difficult because we're ultimately not given a fantastic rate from the local authority, from the government.
Lots of people will look at this and say, well, you should just pay more than the shop down the road.
We'd love to, but that would raise the fees.
Are we ready? Good job.
Cute campaign video from the government in a bid to boost numbers before parents in England are offered 15 hours of free childcare for under 2s in April.
Look, we welcome this recruitment campaign, but it won't solve the crisis that's been going on for over a decade. We need a long-term vision. We need to know how we're going to retain the brilliant, dedicated, skilled workers we already have in the sector because they're leaving in their droves.
This is all too little too late, isn't it?
We've made significant increases to the amount that we are paying to childcare providers and to their salaries, significant increases.
Well, we've also seen a significant increase in the cost of living.
And we have indeed, and that's precisely why we've been making those boosts to the amount of money that we give to providers. A 204 million boost, then a further 400 million boost last year, precisely because the cost of living has gone up.
The picture of how much childcare is actually available with registered providers across England, though, varies wildly. Analysis of data from the House of Commons Library shows that in Rushcliffe, one of the least deprived areas in England, there are almost 68 childcare places at early years providers per 100 children under 5. In wealthy Winchester, it's almost 60. In fact, 13 of the 20 areas with the highest number of registered childcare spaces are in the South East and London. The fewest number of spaces are in the more deprived areas of the UK. In parts of Sunderland, there are just 11.6 spaces per 100 under 5s. Only 3 in the bottom 20 areas are in the South East and London. All of them are in areas of high deprivation.
What this postcode lottery does show is that actually the areas with the least spaces are typically poor areas. The areas with most number of spaces are in richer places.
We're making sure that wherever you live in the country, there will be enough places for you to be able to claim these hours.
I think this is an acknowledgement from the Conservatives that what they set out in the budget last year was a pledge with no plan to make it happen. We don't have the places we need. We don't have the workforce that we need to make this happen. Under Labour, we've asked for Sir David Bell to lead our early years work in this area, to lead a review, to make sure that we are delivering the places and the workforce.
Are you going to be able to give nurseries and parents any details before we actually get into the run-up to an election?
We will be setting out more as part of that early years review and in the run-in to the election. I think what we set out already in terms of the vision around the direction of travel is incredibly important.
The hope, say government, a flood of people joining or rejoining the industry. The reality, says industry, is just 8 weeks until thousands of extra staff for free childcare are needed.
Well, let's talk now to Jonathan Broadbury, who's the Director of Policy at the National Day Nurseries Association. Thanks very much for talking to us. A golden welcome of £1,000 cash payment for people joining or rejoining nursery work, offered just 2 months before a big expansion of the government's childcare scheme. It's either genius or a sign of desperation. Which do you think?
Well, we've been saying that for a number of years there's been a crisis in the workforce for the early education and childcare sector. So it's good that there is action on this with the campaign and with the incentives. But as was being highlighted, we've only got 8 weeks to go. These campaigns take time to have a positive effect, and the incentives are only going to be offered in 20 areas. So when it comes to being ready for April, it is really challenging for providers out there.
I mean, you say it's challenging. Will the sector be able to do it? From April, working parents of 2-year-olds will be able to access 15 hours of free childcare. We know lots of parents want that. Will you be able to provide it?
Well, I think nurseries are working incredibly hard to understand what the demand is in their area and how they're going to be able to meet that and what they can do to meet that. I think some providers are going to struggle between the staff that's available, and also at the moment quite a lot of providers don't know the funding they're going to get from their local authorities. Now, the government have promised that they'll speed that up, because we've been calling for that, but it really needs to be quicker, because quite rightly parents want to know now what's going to be available in 2 months' time.
So much of this is rooted in the low pay that all the people working in this sector have endured for years. Many parents won't be able to understand, why can't you pay your workers more? Isn't this partly your issue too?
Well, what's happening is the government is promising parents more and more funded hours, but their funding rates that they're paying to providers do not cover their costs. We surveyed providers last year and found that 83% were at either breaking even or running at a loss. Now, that's not sustainable, and you can't increase staff wages to the level that employers want to if the biggest purchaser of your services is not paying a fair fee.
Many parents, perhaps outside of the free places, who are paying huge amounts, a huge proportion of their income, sometimes more than their rent, sometimes more than their mortgage, simply don't understand why you're saying you can't provide places. They don't understand why you can't pay your workers more.
Well, we know that the cost of living pressures on parents is having a massive effect, and actually our members tell us that they're working to keep their fee increases below the rising costs that they're facing. So last year staffing costs went up by 14% and the average fee increase went up by 7-8%. So they're working hard to keep those increases down as much as they can for parents, but they know that it's a real struggle. And the problem is in areas of deprivation where 60, 70, even 80% of a provider's income is from government funded hours, then they're the nurseries that are most likely to close because of the underfunding issue. So there's not the income coming into those settings for them to be able to operate.
I mean, the Minister today was quite clear, saying this is about also improving not just the pay, but pay is obviously linked to status, isn't it, of people who work in nursery. And for years, staff will tell you that they're often portrayed as babysitters rather than having valuable skills. How do you change that? And can you change it in time?
Well, we've been running a campaign for 2 years now about the first 5 years counting, because it's such a crucial stage for children's development. And the educators, the professionals who are qualified and trained and working with our youngest children really know how to give them the best start in life. So they're supporting families, they're helping children develop, and they absolutely deserve to be celebrated for the work that they do.
Jonathan Broadbury, thanks very much for talking to us.